Hello, my name is Arun John, and I'm a systems engineer with the Dell Data Protection Division. So today in this tutorial, I will take you through how do we install Avamr and Datadomain combo pack in AWS using the CloudFormation template. Now, the benefit of using the combo pack is that both Avamr and Datadomain gets installed, configured, and integrated automatically, thus avoiding the need to install these packages separately and then integrating them. So let's get started. So at a very high level, the backup workflow looks something like this. We have some workloads in the cloud which we want to protect. So we go ahead and install the Avamr and Datadomain combo pack from the marketplaces of AWS. Once it's installed, we go ahead and create some protection policies using our protection software, which is Avamr in our case. And once the protection policy kicks in, all the backups are sent directly using source ID duplication directly from the client to our protection storage, which is Datadomain. It is important to note that the Datadomain system will store all its backup in the AWS S3 storage and all the metadata related to the backups on EBS volumes. Now, the scope of this demo is only to show you how to install the Avamr and Datadomain combo pack. Configuring backups and recovery is out of the scope. Here's a high-level architecture diagram of the various components involved in installing Avamr and Datadomain in AWS. We have our AWS account. Within that AWS account, we have created a new VPC. Within that VPC, we'll go ahead and create two subnets in two different availability zones, a public subnet and a private subnet. In the public subnet, we'll go ahead and create a Windows jump host. It is through this jump host, we will go ahead and communicate with various components in the private subnet, which in our case will be Avamr and Datadomain. We'll also go ahead and create a security group for the public subnet, which will define all the protocols which is allowed within the public subnet. Similarly, a security group for the private subnet, defining all the protocols that is allowed within the private subnet. Now, each of these security groups also will be connected to its own route tables, a private route table and a public route table. The route table will define how different components talk to each other. The public route table also contains an internet gateway for the components in the public subnet to talk to the outside world. We'll also go ahead and create an S3 bucket for the Datadomain to store all its backup data, and also an S3 endpoint so that the communication from the Datadomain system to the S3 bucket will be kept private. I have now logged on to the AWS console. This tutorial assumes that you have a basic understanding of AWS and AWS services. We'll quickly go ahead and create a VPC, security groups, route tables, and all the other components which is required for us to install Avamr and Datadomain in AWS. So let's get started. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a couple of key pairs to SSH into Avamr and Datadomain, and also a key pair to RDP into our jump host. So that key will be for our jump host. We'll create another one for Avamr and Datadomain. So we have created two key pairs. We'll have to save them and we'll have to use it at a later stage. So in the next step, we'll go ahead and create a VPC. We'll give it a name. We'll give it a CIDR range. And say create VPC. Now that our VPC is created, we'll go ahead and create two subnets, one public subnet and a private subnet. Choose the VPC. We'll give it a name. Choose the availability zone, in this case US East 1A. Give it a CIDR range. Say create subnet. Similarly, we'll go ahead and create a private subnet. Select the VPC again. We'll give it a name. Choose the availability zone. In this case, I'm going to choose US East 1B. We'll give it a CIDR range. I'll say create subnet. So our VPC is created, and so is two subnets, public subnet and private subnet. So in the next step, we'll go ahead and create some route tables. So when we create a VPC, AWS automatically creates a route table. So that's the default route table associated with the VPC which we just created. What we'll do is we'll use that route table and name it as our public route. Similarly, we'll go ahead and create another route table for our private subnet. So we'll go ahead and give it a name. We'll choose the VPC and we'll create route table. So we have created two route tables now, a private route table for a private subnet and a public route table for a public subnet. So what we'll now do is we'll associate these route tables to the subnets. So to do that, we'll click on the private route table, subnet associations, and choose the private subnet. So in doing so, we have associated the private subnet with the private route table. Similarly, we'll go back and choose the public route table and associate the public subnet. So we have finished associating the public subnet with the public route and the private subnet with the private route table. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and create an internet gateway and attach it to the public route table so that all the components in the public subnet can talk to the internet and all the components from the internet can talk to the components within the public subnet. So to do that, we'll click on Internet Gateways, say Create Internet Gateway. We'll give it a name and say Create Internet Gateway. We'll attach that Internet Gateway to the VPC, which in our case is my VPC, and say Attach Internet Gateway. We'll go back to the route table and add that Internet Gateway to the public route. So to do that, we click on Edit Routes, click on Add Route, and we'll say any traffic coming from anywhere other than this CIDR range here should go to the Internet Gateway. Click on our Internet Gateway, which we just created, and we'll say Save Changes. So we look at the route table now. So we have both the Internet Gateway so that the components can talk to outside world, and also the CIDR range in which the components within the subnet can talk to each other. So in the next step, we'll go ahead and create a security group, both for our jump host and also for our Avamr and Datadomain Virtual Edition. So we go back to our VPC dashboard, the security groups, create security group. We'll give it a name. We'll give it the same description. We'll choose the VPC. We'll edit the inbound rule to allow all traffic from anywhere. Similarly, the outbound rule, all traffic to anywhere. And we'll say create security group. So we will go ahead and now create another security group using the same procedure for our Avamr Datadomain. So we go back to our VPC dashboard, security groups, create security group. We give it a name. Choose the VPC. So here in the inbound rule, what we'll do is we will allow for the inbound, we will allow all traffic, but coming from our jump security group, not from anywhere, but only from our jump security group. Similarly, for the outbound rules, we can allow all traffic from there to anywhere. Once that is done, we will go ahead and say create security group. So if you look at our security group, we have now two security group, jump sec security group for jump box and AVE DDVE security group for our Avamr Datadomain. So in the next step, we'll go ahead and create an S3 bucket for Datadomain to store all its backup. So we'll go ahead and search for S3. We'll say create bucket. We'll give it a name. Choose the region. And we'll say create bucket. We need to make a note of this bucket name because we will be using this at a later stage. So what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and create a S3 endpoint for Datadomain and our S3 bucket to communicate with each other using the private network. We'll go ahead and search for endpoints, choose endpoints. We'll say create endpoint. We'll give it a name. We'll search for the S3 gateway endpoint. We'll choose the VPC. And we'll attach it to the route table, which is our private route table, which is where the data domain and Avamr is configured to. So once that's all done, we say create endpoint. So what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and create an IAM policy. So we look for IAM, click on policies, say create policy. Now policies are created using JSON. So for the purpose of this demo, what I've done is I've already created a JSON script which simply says that any AWS resource which has got access to this policy can put and get, list, and delete new and existing objects from the S3 bucket. Now we need to make sure the name of the bucket matches the name of the bucket which we created a few steps ago. So in our case, it was DDVES. So I'm going to make that change here. So again, it's important the name of the bucket matches the name of the bucket you created. So once we have made sure that is the case, we go ahead and click next. Say next. We'll give it a name. Give it a description. And we'll say create policy. It's important we actually make a note of the name of the policy because we'll be using that at a later stage. So the next step, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create an IAM role. So to do that, we'll click on role. We'll say create role. So it's going to ask who is going to actually assume the role. So it's going to be EC2 instance, which is nothing but our Datadomain Virtual Edition. So we're going to pick EC2 and say next. We'll attach the policy to the role. We'll say next. We'll give our role a name. Give a description. We'll review everything and we'll say create role. The role is now created and it's important that we make a note of this role because we will be using this at a later stage. So what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and create an EC2 instance, which is our jump host. So we'll just go back and search for EC2. We'll give it a name. Our jump host is going to be Windows based, so I'm going to choose Windows. It needs a key pair. Remember, we created a key pair called jump key. We'll use that. So we're going to edit the network settings here. We're going to choose the correct VPC where it's going to be launched. It's my VPC. We're going to choose a subnet as well. So we're going to deploy this in the public subnet. We'll say auto assign public IP because this is in the public subnet. We're going to choose the security group. So we'll choose an existing security group, which we have, which is the jump security group, which we already created. Once we all have all those, we'll just leave the storage at the default. We'll say launch instance. So our jump host is up and running. What we'll do now is we will try and connect to the jump host to check if it's connecting and if it's got any security issues. So let's go ahead and click connect, RDP client. What we'll do is we'll first go ahead and get the password. So we need to upload the key which we downloaded. So that's the jump key. So we decrypt the password. So we got the password, we just copy the password. We download the RDP client, connect it using the password which we just copied. It's now trying to log on to the jump server. So we have been successful in logging on to our jump server using the RDP client. So what we'll do next is we'll go to the AWS marketplace and install Avamr and Datadomain combo pack. So we go for marketplace. We'll go ahead and discover products. We search for Avamr, and this is the one which we want, Dell EMC Avamr and Datadomain Virtual Edition. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And we'll say continue to subscribe. So accept the terms and conditions. So our subscription is complete. We'll go ahead and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and install it using the CloudFormation template. So before we launch our CloudFormation template, let's quickly look at our EC2 instances. Now, if you look at the EC2 instance, there's only one EC2 instance, which is our jump host, which is running at the moment. And if you look at the volumes, there's only one volume, which is associated with that jump host. Now, when we finish running our CloudFormation template, if everything goes well, we should see two additional instances popping up here, one for Avamr Virtual Edition and one for Datadomain Virtual Edition. Similarly, we'll see a lot more volumes than the one here, volumes for Avamr Virtual Edition and for the Datadomain Virtual Edition. So let's create our CloudFormation template. So to create our CloudFormation template, we'll go back to the marketplace, pick our subscription, and we'll say continue to launch. You can choose action as launch CloudFormation, launch it. Click next. We'll give our stack a name. We'll choose a VPC, which is my VPC. The subnet, which is our private subnet. The availability zone, US East 1B. The SSH location, which can be used to connect to both AVE and DDVE. I'll give the ranges. The key pair, which we created earlier. Select the size of the Avamr Virtual Edition which we want to install. We have different options here, so I'm going to select the 2 terabyte one. The AVE volume is GP2. In future releases of the Avamr Virtual Edition and Datadomain Virtual Edition, we will also have the option of GP3. So at the moment, we'll just use the GP2, which is standard. I'll put in a password. Select the time zone. I'm in Australia, so I'm going to choose Australia. I'll choose the DDVE capacity. Again, there's different options. I will choose the 1 terabyte option. Choose the IAM role which we created. Again, that was AVE DDVE role. The S3 bucket name, which was DDVES. Give the boost login name. I can put a random name here, so I'm just going to use AJ Boost. I'll give the password for DDVE as well. Password for, repeat the password again. The SNMP community string, just put it as public and say next. Click on next again. and we say create stack. So the stack is getting created at the moment. We will come back to this once the stack is complete. So as you can see, our stack creation is complete. If you go back to our EC2 dashboard, we should have more than one instance running. So there you go. We originally had only the jump host. Now we have two more additional EC2 instances, one for AVE and DDVE. So it's still configuring at the moment, although it's up and running. So we'll wait until all the initialization is complete. So once the installation is complete, we should also see additional volumes in here, not just the jump volume. So the initialization is now complete. As you can see, the status check is 2 out of 2, which is a good sign. So now if you go back to our volumes, we can see there are a whole lot more volume than just the jump volume. So you have 3 volumes for the Avamr Virtual Edition, and you also have some additional 3 volumes for our data domain. So what we'll do now is we will go ahead and log on to our Avamr instance and complete the configuration. So in order to do that, we just need to locate the private IP address of our Avamr, which is 10.0.0.24. So what I'll do is I will go on to my jump host, open up a browser, and try and log into the Avamr console. We'll give the username as a root, and the password which we gave during the time of the CloudFormation stack. Now, sometimes you might need to give the private IP address of the Avamr. So this time we will try with the password which actually we used during the CloudFormation template. So we click on login. So it's taken that. And what we'll do is we will go ahead and click on monitor. Avamr is already doing some initialization of the GSAN, and it's loading all the packages which is necessary for it to successfully integrate with Datadomain. So we'll wait until this installation progress is 100%. So the installation is about to complete now, and the Avamr installation manager is going to reboot. What we'll then do is we will go ahead and log into the Avamr UI to see whether Avamr are successfully configured and it's integrated with Datadomain. So as I said, it's finished installation. It's going to reboot now. So what we'll do now is we will log on to the Avamr UI. So the same IP address, but we'll just change this to AUI. Give the same password. So what we'll now check is whether Avamr has integrated Datadomain automatically. So we'll expand the Avamr AUI dashboard, go to System, and then look at the Datadomain tab. So as you can see, the Datadomain is already registered with the IP address .20, and it also gives the available space on the file system, which indicates that the file system is also automatically created. So what we'll do is we'll double check this by logging on to the Datadomain using that IP address .20, which I've already done. And so as you can see, there are 2 entries which is automatically created. One is the /backup, which is the default entry, and one is the Avamr entry, which is where all the backups from Avamr will land. If you look at the file system is also created and ready to go. So as you can see, in a very few simple steps, once you input all the parameters required to install the AVE DDVE combo in AWS, it's very simple to go to the marketplace and install the combo package using the CloudFormation template. So that concludes my demo. Hope you found some value out of it. Thank you.